I'll take your clicker. Thank you so much. Phew, that's a big face. Cool. Great. Well, and also I want to thank the Creative Mornings team for having me. I was a 30-second pitcher 3 years ago, and then my company was a host venue. So to be here speaking to you today is just incredible. So I really appreciate it. It's a great community. So you talked a little bit about me, and I don't need to go through my whole resume, but I'm all those things you said and more. And I think as we talk about different roads that we're on, I think for a long time I felt I had to pick a lane and stay in that lane. And through various moments in my life, I realized it can be a 4-lane highway. And sometimes it's 290, and there's some starts and stops. And sometimes, you're in the fast lane, and they're all probably not moving at once. But you don't have to choose. You can have it all, but not all at once. But we're talking about Crossroads today. It would be hilarious if I just did 25 minutes on this 2002 classic, Britney Spears vehicle featuring Academy Award winner Zoe Saldana, Kim Cattrall as Britney Spears' mom, and Dan Aykroyd for some reason. But we're not going to talk about that, but I do want to call out the tagline. And italics emphasis is my own. So as we're talking about a crossroads based on this tome, their friends are going on an adventure to pursue the dreams they once put aside, taking risks that will change their lives forever. So when we're at various crossroads, there is a decision point. And that usually means, are we going to stay the same? Or are we going to, say, pursue our dreams? Are we going to stay the same? Or are we going to take that risk? And what we're really asking is, are we going to remain the same? Or are we going to change? So if you're at a crossroads, it usually means one or two things. One is that you have multiple paths in front of you, and congratulations if you do, and you're just having trouble deciding between one or the other, and again, you can do a mix of both. Or you have no idea what the path is in front of you, and you need to create it. It might be just an open field, and it might be an easy one to forge. It might be a thick forest. And this is like the whole Disney princess, like anyone where it's like sunshine behind and then like dark, scary forest, but the only way out is through. And that is the hero's journey. You have to go through those thick weeds to transform and come out the other side and find your happy ending. But the good news is two things. You can get to where you're going, but you're gonna need a map. Like when you open Google Maps, it's not gonna give you a route until you understand your destination. But the kicker is, you're gonna have to create that yourself. So in my day job, came up through communications. I'm now more ops for an agency, but it's all about plans. You wanna grow, you wanna build your revenue, like whatever it is, it's always taking that step back. A lot of people get caught in the weeds and the day-to-day, and there's so much to do in our day-to-day, but it's just refocusing. It's like, what is that goal? And what are those strategies, really, that are gonna get you there? And is what you're doing, all this frenzy of activity, actually in alignment with that goal? And there's a lot of things you can drop away that isn't getting you anywhere, but makes you feel like you're getting somewhere. And we'll talk about it too, and be thinking, I'm glad we did the exercise of identifying some crossroads, thinking about, who in your life can help you on that journey. How are you gonna test if what you're doing is working? So, if it's in a work phase, it's, measurable objectives and KPIs, but like when I turned my client work onto myself, and I'm like, oh, I should treat myself like a client, and especially when I was doing some more creative writing, I did my own plan. I'm like, goal, be Nora Ephron. Those strategies were like, okay, do some humor, do some personal writing, and then, was able to actually like, let me go to this event, let me try storytelling, let me try stand-up, and seeing, what I liked and, what I didn't, and your goal can change, as mine does too, because now I want to be Patti Smith. So we're at multiple crossroads right now. We have some personal crossroads, probably in various categories of our lives. We're in a collective crossroads. And again, those two paths in the forest, and I love the Robert Frost. I was totally gonna say that too, because I was that pretentious high school girl using that as my senior quote. In our country, are we going to stay the same as a democracy? Or are we gonna become something else? And are we just gonna let that happen? Or are we gonna take action, make a decision? My astrology girlies, I know there's some here. We just went through a huge eclipse season. So there was a lot of letting go, things that might have been bubbling for the last couple months, couple years. I know I had some things in a couple different areas of my life that came to a head and broke open, made decisions, had the hard conversations. It is the year of the snake. There's a lot of shedding. So we are stepping into something new. So I'm not gonna go through like every single facet of my life, but I did wanna just call out some things that I have personally gone through and through various stages of my life. If you are vibing with any of these particular categories and wanna talk to me afterwards, I'm happy to delve more into it. I've also done a lot of writing on a lot of these things, so you can Google me and find it. But all of these were moments where I had to make a decision. There had to be some action. Sometimes that decision was acceptance and maybe choosing a different path, especially with fertility. I accepted that I could have a different life without children, and it's been, working fine. And even some things that were hard, like I didn't speak to my family for a couple of years, but it was a very necessary break, and it took more than one conversation to get back to a really great place I never thought we would be. So sometimes it is that breaking apart to put back together. And it's not just one conversation, it can't be. But having the same shared goal of wanting a relationship, how do we get there? And what are the compromises we all need to make? So I used some of the artwork because I loved the artist Joanna's designs. So how do we then, we've identified our crossroads, we've got our ideas, our strategies, our path, but like, how do we actually execute it? So it's a very like, inertia is a hell of a force. It is so easy to do nothing. So when I was in this bad relationship in my early 20s, I was living with someone, I thought we'd get married. It was fine. There was like no reason to point and be like, this is bad because relationships take work. I need to, X, Y, Z to make it better. You don't need to do that at 24 years old. So to actually take that risk of like, okay, that means I'm moving. That, at that time also meant I was changing cities for various reasons. And all the things that go with it. There's a lot of logistical stuff that can kind of trip you up, but again, you're down here, think about the big goal. I'm free. I can be the person I want to be. And if you've watched White Lotus, don't just complain, do something about it. Go to Thailand, I guess. So do I have firstborn daughters in the room or just eldest children? Okay, yes, of course you're here learning about yourself on a Friday morning. So you are allowed to ask for help. It is easy when you're in that forest to get lost in the weeds and to be like, this is too much. Oh my God, like if I'm leaving a relationship and I have to like pack and I have to like, if I change jobs, I have to change insurance and like all of that headache. But again, you can take that step back, focus on the goal, think about your community. Some people call it like your personal board of directors. I have many good girlfriends. I have like one best friend who's gonna tell me everything I do is wonderful. I'm gonna have another best friend who's gonna call me on my shit. It is necessary to have, those different personalities in your cabinet. So let them guide you. You don't have to be in the forest alone. And you'll find, and I find this about myself, it takes me a long time to realize like what my subconscious and my unconscious has been thinking. So by the time I am even at that decision point, I look back in retrospect and realize, oh, I guess I have been like, if I was leaving a job, like I guess I had been starting to like reach out and network for like the past year. So yeah, I guess it does make sense that I'm like looking for something new now. So it's one of those like the small steps do add up, and don't get frustrated if like one specific thing doesn't work. It doesn't mean the whole plan needs to be thrown away. And again, it takes action. It's those radical conversations. It's taking that risk. It's putting yourself out there and trying something new, seeing how it fits. So the one example I'm gonna give, and this is very emblematic of what we're going through politically right now. So I'm gonna ruin my cred, I live in the suburbs. When I moved out there, it was 2016. Historically, it was very conservative. Then it started to get a little purple and, more and more. So that means when people are losing power, that they're trying to hold on to it so tight. And with the local library, it was around 2022 when things like really started, which 2022 was the midterms. There was an event at the library for drag queen bingo, for I think it was National Coming Out Day for high school students, after hours when the library was closed. Well, what are they trying to hide? Why is this? We're, grooming, all the things that you might think that they said. And unfortunately, they did end up canceling the event because there was like a bullet mailed to the library. There were like horrible, horrible things going on. And then if you remember, there was like a spate of like bomb threats at various libraries. My library certainly got one. They happen all throughout the country. There's a playbook. And then they're saying, there's homeless people in the library. The library's not safe. People are using drugs in the library. We're gonna put a referendum on the ballot to, separate the local government, the way it's structured, to make it more expensive for the library so that they have to cut services and really slowly defund the library. Oh, there's porn in the library because there's books on puberty. All this stuff. The Drag Queen Bingo event got me involved in my foundation, so like the nonprofit arm of the library. I also know people where that was the critical moment to run for the library board, which is the government arm, or to run for the village council, which oversees the library. So it didn't do what they thought it would do because it got a lot of people involved on the other side of things. So when I joined the Library Foundation, it was a great organization, but it was for a different time. It was, just lovely people who loved the library and loved to read and would like donate art to the library. But the moment shifted. We now need to be advocates in our community. People need to know who we are. We need to like raise funds. We need to be out there in a way that the library as a government entity cannot. We can, so we need to use our voice and our platform. And I was like, we need a fundraiser. We've never done a big fundraiser. Let's do a fundraiser. And it's like, there's also completely volunteer run, like 15 people. And it's very scary to be like, what? We've never done this. How are we gonna do this? We did it. And to show people how you can do it, holding their hand, yes, we can do all this together. We raised $25,000 at our very first fundraiser. It was incredible. We brought out so many folks in the community, so then you see who your advocates are. Since then, we've got like our first matching donor. We're going for like our first major grants. Having that grassroots support with other nonprofits and other groups like in that community to really bolster each other up, because there's also a local like LGBTQ community group in the community that is facing similar feedback. So we've been partnering more. And even seeing how it's not just our system, it's like, I wonder what other county friends and foundation groups are dealing with. I bet it's the same thing. And we've learned some things we could learn from others. Let's all get together and share that. So we had an April 1st election. There were 6 people running for 3 open seats. Those 3 seats were filled by pro-library folks. And in my county, which is not Cook, every single partisan race went to Democrats. It was an historic overturn. Things like seats that had never been flipped since like Lincoln was president. And the voter turnout was like 45% higher than the last municipal election. So, action. So, and how are we on time? If you want to take, okay, so like take a photo or talk to a neighbor. We can talk to a neighbor. We have time for that? Okay, great. So we've already identified what those crosswords are, or crossroads. So now that I've kind of outlined like how we plan, turn to maybe the same folks or different folks, thinking about what can you do today. Don't wait till New Year's. Don't wait till the new astrological New Year, which is what I do. Don't wait till Monday, literally today. Like there's never a good day when I decided to stop drinking. It's like, it wasn't ceremonial. It was just like, I don't feel like it anymore. And it was like, chill. Doesn't have to be a huge thing. And thinking about who in your life is gonna help you and what is like a mantra that you can tell yourself when things are getting hard to not give up. So let's take a couple minutes and do that. Oops. Oh, this is amazing. I do?
I do. Surprising delight. No, you're doing so good. Really enjoy.
Great. It's a very quick wrap up. So like, you tell me whenever you wanna.
Because we'll still do like Q&A after that, after 9:40.
Okay.
About 10 minutes for Q&A.
So do you wanna do to like 9:30?
No, you have up to
6,
9:40.
7?
And then Q&A will go up till 9:50. So you're good.
Okay.
And if you want to less, then we can do less. And if you want to do more, we can do more. Whichever one.
Do last what?
In terms of like if you want to wrap up now and we do less, more questions, we can do that. Or if you want to keep going, we can do less.
Well, and we can also do the same thing as the beginning and do like 2 examples of one of those things. Okay, yeah. I love this. Although this is gonna come back to haunt me. This like very Sheryl Sandberg of me. Take a lot of head. That's good.
Lots of conversation today. I feel like it's been like very like loud. Lots of people have been talking.
That's good. Yeah.
I like it a lot.
No, and you're a great host. You're funny. Energy. It's great.
It's been a journey. It's been a journey, but I'm gonna be even better when I start working with you. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Of course.
No, I want to like give myself the props, but my mind is always like, okay, what can you be doing better? What can you
Of
be
course,
doing
and that's continued
right?
growth.
I always have like a little note card and I never look at it.
That's good though. I mean, I spent so much time last night like going over my slides, and then I was like, I got it.
Yeah. You know
Sleep
what you're
on it,
talking
exactly.
about.
Let it absorb. So I say thank you, and then you come for Q&A.
Yeah, so whenever you're done, I'll just come up and then I'll pick off like Q&A.
Okay.
And then I'll leave you to just do the picking if you want. Since there's no mic to pass around,
Yeah.
you can just like pick whoever. The power.
Are you up there with me?
No, I can come back over here.
I was like, because you can pick. I don't care.
No, it's fine.
Okay. So 4 minutes, right? Okay. So I can wrap them up. Okay. Okay, be wrapping up. Last thoughts. I also love that you got called out to read. Okay. 1, 2, 3 eyes on me. Do I have 1 or 2 people who wants to share an update on their progress of their plans? We have time for 1 or 2. And I'll call in my friends if no one volunteers. Right here.
Hi everyone, my name is Tara Levy. I'm a full-time artist, and it sounds cute, but it's hard. So I literally was talking to my friend today. I'm like, I'm gonna just like sit down at a coffee shop today and like unpack my mind and just see it on a notepad and like again make a plan and a map. Hello, a map of where I'm gonna go next. So thank you for that inspiration.
You can visualize your map. I love that. I'm not an artist, so I really admire that. Do I have 1 more? Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura. I was sharing that it's sort of fallen off, but several years ago, for like 5 years in a row, me and 3 girlfriends, we all used
I'm not in that group. We're friends. Having an accountability buddy, always great. Yes, and I love the monthly check-in because I'm a big vision boarder, and then great, you have a wonderful collage, and then like for me, it like sits in a room. So it's like revisiting that, like journaling on it, like have I done it? And sometimes, and I know I was on Sandhya's podcast, where again, unknowingly, unconsciously, going back through like years of vision boards of like, oh yeah, I guess I did do that. So again, sometimes your mind's working for you with and without a plan. So just to wrap up, and this is more of the artwork I pulled, and it's a little small, you can't see. So when you're going through, when you're at a crossroads, it can feel lonely, it can feel isolating. So she's wearing like polka dot shorts. Isolated, but surrounded by polka dots. And some of these, again, I don't know if you can tell, but like some of them are not as obvious, like they're more close together, but it's like you will find your people. And how you do that is by being vulnerable, taking off that mask, letting your real self come through. And if they're not your people, you're gonna know right away. So I'm a firm believer, if you focus on yourself, it permeates outwards. I'm also a big fan of therapy for that way. And if you can make this change for yourself, the people around you are gonna see that and maybe model after you. Especially in workplaces, especially if you're a manager or if you can manage up or if you have like a small team of peers. I think workplaces are microcosms of government. So if you can start there and change culture, starting with a team, starting with a department, like growing, this is how we take actions that build over time. And there's no wrong path. You can have a multi-lane highway, but just as you're at that crossroads, find the right path for you. And we'll stop it there.
So good. Ate that shit up. A round of applause for Amanda. We're gonna give about 10 minutes for Q&A. I'm gonna let her
Oh boy.
choose. She's an Aries. Like,
I am an Aries.
she's got it.
So it's all about action.
Yeah, so if you have any questions, just indicate.
Okay, I have a question. Yes. When you're at that crossroads and you don't know what to do, or you're like overwhelmed by all the options, how do you sort through it yourself? Or what are some tools that you would use?
Yes, and I know what I just talked about is all about action, but sometimes choosing to let yourself be bored, that's another one of your tips. Sitting with that, like meditating. I also have a busy mind, so I'm a big fan of yoga too, or journaling, and like your mind is smarter than you give it credit for, of just like, oh, I said that like 8 months ago or like 2 years ago, and it hasn't gone away. Because you have all the different paths in your mind, and you can make pros and cons lists too, but also to like what feels right, like, and I don't know, the older I get, it's like the more I'm trusting my gut and my intuition, and it's usually 95% correct.
Other questions? You were thorough. Okay.
I have a question that might be more about perspective. When you mentioned putting pause on inertia, that was really interesting. I never thought of inertia as something that is movement. And so whenever there's a to-do list in my mind of things that I want to do, and if I don't do anything, I feel like I'm stuck. But my perspective is not showing me what is the absence of the other things that are happening. So when you're feeling that, how do you get out of that perspective to see the things that you're not seeing?
Yes. So when I took a career break to focus on some creative writing, and it was a huge leap of faith on myself, and it was in the middle of the pandemic too. I, again, being very type A, I created a to-do list every day because, no, I didn't like write a book, but there were all these like little things I did of like, I pitched my writing, and I set goals of like, how many things I wanted to do, like a week, a month, or whatever. And I would see that list of like, I am doing a lot. And it's planting seeds. It might not happen that day or like the next week. Sometimes it takes years for those seeds to come back, but everything kind of adds on each other. And I think and I've heard this from folks older than me, just like the longer you live, the more things come back around. Like kind of everything does happen for a reason. And you may not know why it's happening at that moment, but like over time, it will reveal itself.
As you've taken this journey, how have you kind of started making a common practice of the things that you learned and like the things that you kind of found success in to then continue establishing those same kind of wins as you continue looking forward? Because I mean, you are currently maybe at your own personal crossroads in a different way that you maybe have not expected. And so now from like where you're headed, how are you kind of making sure that you're taking care of yourself, but also taking care of that vision and nurturing it all?
I love that.
Repeat the question.
I can repeat it. So it was, how do you take care of yourself? How do you repeat this in different scenarios? Did I cover that? I'm going to answer this in two ways, and one in a work context and one in a personal context. And that's really how I got started with the library, because I was doing strategic planning like for work, like for clients, like, and then for my agency. And it was something like, oh, again, I can do this. I can turn it on myself. I can turn it to the library. And I know I've met other folks who probably do this work where it's like, here's the problem, or like, here's the challenge, and like, let's figure out how to solve it and train the folks who can then keep it going. And then it's like time for me to do something else. So taking care of myself. So when I was going through like a fertility challenge, I mean, I was on hormones for like years. It was very much, when we talk about inertia, it's like the doctors are just like, here's the next thing, here's, the next appointment. You lose, like, I lost like myself. I finally took a break from the drugs, the fertility drugs, and was like, wow, I got my personality back. So again, that's where like that rest was like, do I want this? Like, who am I doing this for? We've been in this for so long. There's just been tunnel vision. Then at that point, like, we had nieces and nephews who had been born, so like kind of the pressure was off. But every month, because there's a result every month, it was like making like a self-care list of like, okay, if the result is positive, here's how we're gonna celebrate, and if the result is negative, here's how I'm gonna take care of myself. And really leaning on the self-care. And you'll know, I mean, just the other day, I like ended up taking a PTO day. It was supposed to be a fun day. And I was like, oh, I'm just so tired. Why am I tired? And I look at my calendar. Oh, that's why. So it's the proactive care. I'm even talking to like my parents right now. We're selling my grandmother's house. It's very stressful. And I'm like, you need to do one of these like 5 things a day. Like take a walk, take a shower. And this is what I learned from them. But that is just as important. Taking care of yourself, like you cannot take care of others. It's the whole put on your oxygen mask first thing. But if you're spent, then the intuition doesn't come to you. Like you have to be in a place where you can receive. So it's not selfish to spend that time on yourself. Yes.
I think some of what you're talking about a little bit is almost like the sunk cost fallacy. And I'm wondering, because I have a tendency to like dog with bone kind of thing. And then so how do you know if I just hold on for one more week, it isn't really a sunk cost and I should stick with it versus let it go because you should let it go?
Yeah. Also, hi. Yeah, and that's where it comes back to like the goal. And I'm sure everyone's seen that illustration of like someone who's like digging and like turns away, but like they're right there, and the person below them is like digging and like gets the prize. That's where my goals have changed sometimes. And it is just thinking back to like, is this what I really want? And am I willing to do what it takes to pursue that? I'll use the example like with my personal writing. I think it's always been a goal to have like a book. And recently, and talking about vulnerability, taking off our masks, because I have a couple bad draft novels, and I'm like, maybe it's not fiction. Or maybe it's not a book. Maybe it's like a different project, and it's a different way to get the story out. Like, what is really important? Is it having something that's physical and published, or is it a completely different thing altogether? So sometimes it's not, like, I would say having a book is a strategy, not a goal. The goal is to tell the story and like to share that with the world. Yeah. Yeah.
One more question.
One more.
Okay, so as a fire sign, as a doer that you are, actually, I think Roshni back here used the word surrender earlier, and I think, as I'm thinking about like
a lot of crossroads, not just me, like many crossroads are ones that we don't choose. And I think, and it doesn't work for everyone, but like for me, like my yoga practice, it like teaches me to surrender because I am active. And like, you know, I work out in other ways that like makes me sweat, but like the restore, I call it lay on the floor yoga. It's like practicing surrender. Or like, and I haven't done it in a while, but like those like deprivation tanks where you just like kind of be alone with your own thoughts in the dark. You know, I'm bad at meditating. Some people meditate, but you know, like whatever it is, like, and people run. That's, I know, very meditative, but like that's a creative practice. Like that's a way to like work things out in your mind. So surrender is just as much a practice as putting a plan into place. Like they're kind of, you can't figure out what to do until you have the quiet to come to that conclusion. And I'll do it, right? Yay!